Proposal number 11. So, is the speaker, I recognize Stefan Klietsch to come to the microphone to represent the views. Proposal number 11.
Wow.
Test. Stefan Klietsch, Renfrew, Pembroke, 60 seconds. The Constitution had promised annual policy conferences, though Council refused to call them for a decade. And now, with the passing of one item without debate this morning, Council has cynically relieved itself of all legal deadlines to ever call a policy conference again, unless this item also passes. This one would declare that a coming AGM will be jointly designated as a policy conference, where no such meeting has been scheduled in between two prior AGMs. Like the federal Liberals meetings, and like this event, some constructive committee advice was incorporated in text, but the chair removed criticism of Council from the print against my objections. I requested publishing electstefan@gmail.com the report for contact by any good faith opponents. There are none that I know of. If there is an opponent with the initials EP, they were not responsive to a voicemail and 11 on some emails, and so I did not feel welcome to directly approach them.
Thank you. Do I see 25 delegates wishing to debate? All right, I see 25 wishing to debate. So again, row on my right, being on my left, I will recognize the first speaker opposed.
Hi there, pardon me, Amy O'Brien from Hamilton Center and the Executive Vice President of the Ontario Board Party. So, one of the things that's been said a few times about here about creating a political party. First of all, it's great to be at a policy conference. And I understand that while sometimes it may not be through what some folks want it to be in terms of a process, we have had significant engagement with the party on policy over the years. I was platform co-chair in the 2018 cycle. Yvonne Baker and I went across Ontario engaging and talking with Liberals of their ideas for the platform. It was a robust engagement. So I understand that it's aspirational. People want to see things that they want to see in the way that they want to do it. We want options. We want to create opportunities for people to get engaged. There's resolutions are great, they're important. I've worked on them myself over the years. But by passing this, you're taking away options and opportunities for Liberals to get involved in the policy process. I encourage you to vote it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack Siegel, New York City. This is the 21st century, and this is a borderline 19th or maybe 20th century. And we have agility today. We have means of conducting the policy development process quickly through all sorts of approaches that have been adopted already today. What we don't need is a rigid, every year or so policy conference that has no ability, if circumstances change 3 weeks later, to respond to it until the next one. It makes no sense.
All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed, please raise your card. The proposal is proposal number 12. I recognize
Stefan Klietsch, Renfrew, Pembroke, 60 seconds. The Constitution Committee changed the title twice without consent, the second time after I suggested model provisions to their own take. While the party constitution requires there to be, while it did require there to be policy development conferences, the Constitution does not require that such meetings do not require that such meetings ever reach policy resolution votes as opposed to mere workshops. The Executive Council is now fulfilling its constitutional obligations, but it remains the case that Council does not approve policy votes for nearly a generation This item would require a written explanation from some councillors every 4-year period wherever policy findings are absent. The officer's reference is made so that a few councillors can fulfill the obligation. No one has communicated to me any opposition to this amendment, despite my consulting hundreds of members and 13 councillors by email, including, I think, an email that belongs to Damien.
Thank you. Is it 25 not seeing 25? With all those in favor, please testify. Thank you. With all those opposed, please testify. Motion defeated. Thank you. We will proceed to the point of order.
Amendment number 10. I see there is board, but it was about you're never given an opportunity to give an opposing view of that. So which one? Amendment 10, getting rid of associate members. No, but each one said, there would be. Yes, there's
The point of order is not possible. We will proceed to introductions of proposal number 13, remote participation in annual meetings.
Stefan Klietsch, Brentford Pembroke. Thank you, Milton, for the sponsorship flexibility, and Sean Torrey for feedback. Last year, a similar amendment by Fadi Almazri was defeated after committee member Aaron Davis argued that it would force AGMs to always feature online voting. This item addresses that point and grants the nominal right of delegates to request remote options for convention votes. Such voting options, however, would be subject to potential suspension at the whims of the Executive Council. In-person debate is argued to be better valued than online debate, so under this proposal, council and delegates can choose to give online votes less weight and clarity compared to in-person votes. Remote votes would be equal in council elections since those don't require scrutiny of live debate. The term on location inside in-person meetings, while tacitly permitting future pandemic online voting meetings. 13 councillors were consulted on this item, yet no party authorities have contacted me with any criticisms.
Thank you. Is there 25 delegates wishing to participate? There are 25. Again, Crow on my right, on my left, and I'll recognize.
Jack Siegel, York Center. I've been the party's returning officer for 3 leadership conventions, probably half a dozen AGMs, and God only knows how many nomination meetings. The notion of conducting remote voting on top of this is going to be a huge burden, and on behalf of all future returning officers, I beg you not to adopt this proposal. At the same time, there's no reason and no need for a constitutional amendment to put our AGMs online, available to our members in live time, even available with availability of some commenting. But the notion of voting for our executive or if policy proposals come forward is absolutely unwieldy.
Thank you. First speaker,
Right. Matthew Shaw from Chatham, Kent, Leamington. Well, the principle of this constitutional plenary is bringing the party into the modern era of the 21st century. Well, that's the digital age, isn't it? So I think adopting a possibility for remote participation in the constitutional votes and for being here would be not only bringing the party into the 21st century, it could help increase participation. For the senior vote, we just had the gentleman who's from Manitoulin, I believe, 600 kilometers drove here, which is very good. But for people who can't make it, who don't have the time, don't have the money, can't find parking, remote participation would be a great way of increasing participation overall in the party. As far as if we too much trouble, I mean, we've been living with Zoom since the pandemic. We've all used Zoom. Just put it up on the screen. You got hands on the vote. I think it worked.
Hello, yes, Eric Davis from Waterloo, Constitution Committee member. In relation to this thing, I encourage you to all actually read this amendment, because I'm not against online voting, but this amendment allows remote voting to be counted as fractions of votes in person. So if you actually read the amendment, it allows for fractional voting when it comes to people voting remotely. It also allows for people to actually say, to choose to vote remotely or what have you at an AGM. Now, I have no problem with us having online votes, but to allow individual folks to choose, okay, I don't want to, that sort of thing, like this amendment, though well-intentioned perhaps, is logistically unviable. Like, if you actually read the fractional voting, you actually realize the options for people to decide whether or not to vote. This amendment creates impossibilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connor Peters, Niagara Center. Just on the point of fractionability, we just had a leadership election, and not everybody's vote counted the same. We've done remote voting forever, mail-in ballots. The federal government has their MPs voting remotely all the time. You can do it for stock meetings and a million other things. To have a web form that we trust that our membership list is there, if somebody chooses to vote on the list of amendments online for, against, abstain, it's very easy to do. It wouldn't cost a whole lot, but it's an accessibility issue and it's an affordability issue. If you want more people involved, we need to increase accessibility in every level of our party and every level of our plenary committees, and not just restricting them to 8 a.m. In person.
For all those in favor of proposal 13, please sign. Thank you. For all those opposed, please sign. The proposal is not carried. I will now call on the secretary for proposal 14, creation of the membership discussion forum.
Stefan Klietsch, record member, 60 seconds. Note that I did not request the mailing of most sponsors, one of whom was the leadership candidate. Creating an official membership discussion forum is not rocket science. There are countless volunteers in the party, like me, who would share expertise in running an affordable, unified forum with network value. This item would indirectly compel forum creation, proposing that for every year that there is the absence of a forum, a notice is to be sent to members reminding them of executive council inaction, so that members may judge council accordingly. Staff and volunteers would have powers to discipline code of conduct forum breaches until potential council review. I hope that opposing speakers clarify whether they have any experience with managing online forums, or else are pandering for employment somewhere close to happening. Sycophants who seek top-down leadership monopolies on party information won't like increasing member-to-member network opportunities.
Thank you. Is it 25 delegates in favor? Not